Hello, today I'm going to talk about three topics that I chose for this week's assignment. So the three topics that I chose were the baker that didn't want to bake a wedding cake for a wedding that a same-sex couple was going to be in because that baker didn't believe in same-sex marriage. The second topic that I chose was the woman who gets pregnant and she can't afford to raise her baby. And then the third topic that I chose was the company that mines and distributes coal around the world to power generators, and they refuse to abide by UN sponsored guidelines about carbon emissions. So I'm going to dive into the baker topic. So in that case, I would implement a law that prevents business owners to reject business from anybody, regardless of their religious stance, their personal stance. I don't think that people should be rejected or refused service simply because they do not hold the same kinds of values as these business owners. The law will allow business owners and workers, for example, who are racist, to sell to people of color, and in this case would kind of force the baker to pretty much sell a cake to these to the same-sex couple. The three moral foundations that I felt like worked well with this topic was care. I chose care because we are, me as someone who isn't gay or lesbian, I am caring for this other same-sex couple, and I'm trying to understand what's going on in this situation, and I'm feeling empathy for them. So I am caring for them in that sense. The second one is fairness. It's only fair for everyone to be treated the same. If the same-sex couple just entered the store after a heterosexual couple left and they got the cake of their dreams, it should only be fair for the same-sex couple to get the cake of their dreams as well. And then for the last moral foundation, I chose liberty, just because they shouldn't be oppressed simply for being a same-sex couple. They have the freedom to decide where they want their cake from, how they want it done, all these things. For the second topic, the single woman who gets pregnant and can't afford it, there's a lot of things that I was thinking about in regards to this topic. I'm thinking about both implementing a law and also kind of increasing taxes for the future. So first off, it's kind of difficult and a little hazy because there's a couple instances where this is a little voluntary and it was an accident, and a woman, she didn't really know what to do, so she ended up bringing a baby to full term. Or a woman was raped and she was a teenager and her parents won't allow her to get an abortion. So there's a lot to think about there. There's many different scenarios that can play out. So I would say that by law, somebody who I would say is 16 and over should have, the voice to say what they want to do. If they want to have an abortion, a woman shouldn't be told that they can't have an abortion after 16. I also think that a woman should have a choice what they want to do with their body. And then in terms of taxes, I think that we should put most of our taxes into universal health care. I think that everyone should have the same opportunity. We shouldn't have to pay to do basic human things. We shouldn't have to pay to give birth. We shouldn't have to pay to, pretty much just to try to stay healthy. This shouldn't be things we pay for. These should be things that we just get as a human right. And for the three moral foundations that I chose, I again chose care because we are caring for this woman and her child. We're not in this situation we're not in the same situation as this woman, but we are still caring about what happens to her and what happens to the child. fairness, it's only fair that this woman who can't pay for her child gets treated the same as a woman who can. The woman who can, probably, let's say, has, health insurance and she's pretty wealthy. We shouldn't be able to give that woman a right without giving this other woman who can't afford to raise a child, we should give her the same right as well. And then for liberty, I chose liberty as well because I think that women shouldn't be oppressed. A lot of the decisions nowadays are made by men, and we need to change that so that women's voices are heard. And then the last topic that I chose is a company that mines and distributes coal around the world to power generators. For the UN, I think there should be a law that prohibits big companies from overpowering organizations that are only doing what's best for our world, especially if these organizations are recognized globally. I just read a lot of articles about many companies who are producing pollutants, and they're really doing it for selfish needs. And I think it's really important for organizations like the United Nations to be heard, and we should not be able to overpower their decisions just for, for a healthy world. And then for this, I would choose CARE. The moral foundations I would choose are CARE. CARE because we're caring about this world. Even though we obviously can't be in many countries at once, we're caring not only for our country and our health and the health of our nation, but we're also caring for other nations as well. This is a global issue. I also chose sanctity because we are protecting our world. So our world is very important to us. This is a place that we live in. We need to protect our world. So this is a moral foundation for us. And then liberty, again, we are protecting from ourselves and our world from big companies, big man oppression, big groups. This is what we need to do as just citizens of this world, is to stand up to those big companies who are creating pollutants for their own personal gain, and harming us in the process. And then for the moral foundation, the strengths about this moral foundation theory is that it is inclusive of everyone's beliefs. So I'm a firm believer in some of the moral foundations that I've presented today. Regardless of where on the spectrum we lie, the moral foundation theory is very inclusive. Everyone's way of thinking is justified through the moral foundation theory. But because of this, some may take advantage and use this theory to create harm instead of right. So for example, those who believe in liberty and loyalty, but they can be racist, but still align that with them saying, oh, I'm just trying to protect my country. And loyalty and liberty, it'll line it with protecting their country, right? Those who believe in care and fairness can justify their decision for helping others when instead their help is actually causing harm. So, for example, allowing a person to use as many drugs as they want to the point where that person eventually overdoses. So there is kind of a fine line between things. Those are some of the faults of this moral foundations theory. There are points where we should intervene. Knowing moral foundations theory can open up a safe space for those to share ideas and make their opinions known without having backlash. The moral foundations theory provides no bias with people's opinions, and it is important for others to know that before getting into a conversation about topics such as those relating to today's political climate. So, in other words, it is very important for the moral foundation theory is very important for us to voice our opinions regardless of what they are. And it's very important to know the moral foundations theory in today's political climate. Thank you.